All right. All right. All right. Oh, shit. I never published. Oops. All right. All right. All right. Morning. Just wait for the troops. Beautiful day here. See what we got. Move things around a little bit. Let's see what we got. What do we got? Oh, shit. Forgive it. Morning, Lauren. Beautiful morning. Thank God. Thank God we waited till today to chat about Wednesday. For those of you guys that are not subscribers to the Patreon, we actually on Wednesday morning we were chatting, and I said, let's wait till Friday morning to see what happens with this rally on Wednesday. And my God, I don't think any of us expected what we saw. So today's open. So for those that are watching, that are just catching this from YouTube, normally this is a Patreon subscriber live chat that we do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning. I said today we'd open it up to everybody, which we do every now and then to let people know what we're doing, but also because it was fucking momentous what happened. Tommy and Lauren, two regulars, joking around. Anything interesting happened since we last chatted, says Tommy. Well. We'll just wait for a few more. I mean, I'm expecting some Trump folk will probably jump on. Irish Trump folk, which I'm fascinated by the Irish people that get passionate about Trump, because, like, so on my Instagram I had posted a picture from. I mean, it was really. There's nothing funny about this, by the way. People are coming for like a funny chat. I don't find what happened that funny at all, especially because that woman died, and it's really I went on Parler. I went behind enemy lines on Parler, originally to see if Trump was messaging over there, but also just to see like what the Parler vibe is. Now I'm like Parler's a fucking. It's not a great app. Now, in saying that, I said the same thing about TikTok, but then you figure it out. But I haven't figured out Parler properly yet. But anyway, I was over on Parler, and there is a lot of fucking wacky videos over there. And there was that video. I don't know if people have seen it, but there's a video of that woman being shot, which is really horrific. But I screenshot the fact that like one of the men that was very near her when she was shot had a Camp Auschwitz shirt on, and I posted on my Instagram that that this was so tragic, and I can't remember exactly what I said, but I made reference to the fact that, like, let's be clear about the type of people that are storming the fucking Capitol. And some Irish guy messaged me this morning. So one T-shirt represents 74 million people, and it's like, no. One T-shirt doesn't represent 74 million people, but one T-shirt represents a fair percentage of the people that stormed the Capitol. And let's forget about that for a second. These people stormed the fucking Capitol. They don't have to be wearing Camp Auschwitz T-shirts to be fucking problematic. Okay? Like, some people are so far removed from what went down that they can't even see. And do all those people that stormed the Capitol represent 74 million people? No. But I guarantee you, a good percentage of those 74 million people voted for Trump. But when he lost, they were just like, oh, Trump lost. So 74 million people are not being represented by this fucking insanity. And 74 million people are not buying Trump's lies. A good whack of people are buying Trump's lies. That's a fact, okay? That's clear as day that people are buying Trump's lies. Now, maybe this has been the thing that causes people to take a step back and realize that those lies are fucking dangerous, because they motivate people. And if you want to know what's motivating these fucking people, other than what clearly is racism and bigotry, and a desire for a fascist dictator, those things aside, if you really want to know, in my opinion, what's motivating people to do something as fucking crazy as this, watch the NXIVM documentary. Watch Wild Wild Country. Watch the documentary about Jonestown. Because it's very easy for people to get caught up in a cult, and then they do things that are insane. And I feel so sad, for that woman. Apparently, according to Martina, 45% of Republicans are in support of storming the Capitol. That's scary. Yeah, I mean, I find that stat hard to believe, but who knows? I mean, I was messaging away on Instagram about the craziness, but then in the afternoon I was doing a little bit of foster dog maintenance stuff. But anyway, hey, let me stay focused. Whether that stat's true or not, the whole thing is fucking crazy. I mean, I found Trump crazy from the get-go, but I think this is probably enough for enough people to realize how fucking nuts this is. Because this is people just bought into this cult of Trump, and it's shocking, but it's not the first time it happened. It's just, I mean, could it end up being the largest cult in the history of humanity? The cult of Trump? I mean, because the whole thing that drove these people to do this was based on lies that were pulled out of thin air. I mean, you can find anything on the internet once you decide that's what you want, because there's going to be somebody out there that's going to doctor something or exaggerate something or take an old image. There's going to be somebody that's going to find all that evidence and make it seem like a conspiracy super quick. Everything's a fucking conspiracy. Tommy's saying the rats who've been members of his cabinet all jumping ship over the last 48 hours. Yeah, I mean, listen, I mean, it's comical that it took this for these people to put a fucking check on Trump. I mean, this guy has needed a fucking check for years. I mean, the hilarious thing about, say, the Russia hoax, right? The Russia thing wasn't a hoax, but I personally think if Trump had been let the investigation happen, the stuff that they found, which I don't think was a hoax, it was pretty minimal, actually, in my opinion. I think politically, if Trump had just welcomed the whole thing, nothing in that was politically destroying his career. Don't forget, fucking the Iran-Contra affair, that was really fucked up. That did not destroy Reagan's political career. Trump could have survived the Russia thing. In fact, it wouldn't even have been that big a deal if he fucking wasn't going on about it all the time. It wasn't a hoax, but it wasn't the end of the world. It wasn't a big deal. He turned it into that. But that's his whole thing, is he had to just from the get-go begin this culture of grievance, because honestly, the whole system, the whole way that he operates, the whole way that so much of grievance media operates is there has to be injustice being perpetrated upon you, which is how Rush Limbaugh's been doing it for decades. Hannity, Tucker Carlson these days. It always has to be this great injustice being perpetrated on us, And the AM, I don't know if people know this, but the AM dial in the United States has been hardcore right-wing conservative media for decades. Yet, while they own the airwaves of people in the car, which is a captivated audience for fucking hours every day, why they own those airways, they're talking about the great media bias. Even though you literally can't, if you don't listen to NPR, you can't find it's very hard to find centered talk radio, all opinions talk radio. There's just so much I remember seeing Hotel Rwanda. I don't know if you saw that movie, but there was a radio host during that whole horrific genocide. There was a radio host that was stoking the flames of genocide. And I don't know if you remember, but if you watch it, he's like, cut the tall trees, which was, I can't remember if it was the Tutsis or the Hutus, but that it was basically a call to go and annihilate these people. But I remember listening to the way that radio sounded, and I was like, this sounds like right-wing radio. And I am aware that now I am on my own ranting and raving. So I probably think I sound like that too, because there's just a sort of there's a ranty sort of didactic energy, isn't there, with the one guy on his own talking. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. My point is that the AM dial has been like that for years, right? And it's been, in my opinion, radicalizing, but radicalizing to a non-problematic extent until very recently. It's just that Trump came in this incredibly divided time and just pumped up the flames to the point where there's been problematic behavior for quite a while. So here's my I'm not I like the whole like all this nonsense. It comes out straight away, this, what about the Antifa false flag? It's all bullshit. All these guys, they know who they are. Like they know who these fucking lunatics are. The guy sitting in fucking Pelosi's desk and the fucking redhead that looks like Eddie Durkin with the fucking podium, and the leader of the Proud Boys. They're all in there. Or one of the main Proud Boys. I don't want to say the leader of they're all in there. They got interviews with numerous people, all of them fucking delighted. You think Antifa found a fat fucking 60-year-old woman in a fucking Trump hat to fucking pretend that she's a Trump supporter? Do me a fucking favor with the fucking Antifa. Fuck off with these fucking conspiracy theories. How many fucking conspiracy theories do we have to deal with that are causing major fucking problems in the world? Like, it's relentless. And it's ridiculous. And by the way, just on the Eddie Durkin thing, I saw numerous people tweeting at him saying this guy looked like him. So I'm not taking credit for the Eddie Durkin thing. So by the way, I went on a rant there. Okay, we're good. I'm up to date. Hello, Georgina. So anyway, yeah, I mean, Paula, this whole if they've been black people thing, I mean, I think it's hard to argue otherwise, but at the same time, like right now, at this junction, I should say, I'm not exactly sure how important that argument is. I mean, it's pretty obvious to me that that's the case, but at the same time, like, what does it do right now? Because what we really need to focus on is the fact that this radicalization of these people has been going on for years, and it's gone on unchecked. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, right, Trump's inauguration speech with this American carnage, like, it was all problematic from the get-go. But the real moment where you had to say, we got a problem here, is Charlottesville. So how are all these politicians jumping ship now when they did not strongly get behind criticizing Donald Trump for saying good people on both sides? Now, I know some people try to say he didn't say good people on both sides. He did not criticize the tiki torch fucking Jews will not replace us chanting fucking mob in Charlottesville. He has never wanted to offend the neo-Nazis, the far right, the conspiracy theorists, and the QAnon people. He has never wanted to offend them because he has wanted them to stay behind him. Because I think he's always been thinking the long game, which is whenever this fucking con job is over, his next con is to just be the king of the fucking right-wing internet. The Rush Limbaugh till he dies, the fucking ranting and raving, because it goes back to what I started saying. All this stuff only works when you have a grievance, when there is an injustice being perpetuated upon you, right? That's how this works. But it's very hard to keep that grievance going when you're the president of the United States. You are literally the man. It's hard to maintain the man is fucking with us when you're the man. So you have to spin these fucking unbelievably dishonest narratives about all the injustice being perpetuated upon you by the Democratic Party, by the fake news media, all these enemies coming at you. And every now and then, you're right about a fake news story. You're often right about news bias, but every fucking politician in the world has had to deal with biased media coming at them. Okay? But the reality is that not everything's fake and not everything's a lie, unless Trump, it's coming out of your mouth. Then there's a very high percentage chance that it is a lie. And it's all a lie based on you continuing to push this myth that there's a conspiracy against you. So you gather up the conspiracy theories to make it seem as if it's true. And guys, this is not controversial. Trump is on record as saying, if you say a lie enough, people believe that it's true. And he has pushed lie after lie after lie. And the narrative is so tightly spun within that right-wing conspiracy theory media that people feel that it's completely rational to storm the Capitol. And this poor woman that is dead now. I mean, honestly, I feel so bad for her because, was it? Yes, and they were allowed to walk right through the door. Point is that people in position for that country have always opinion that these people are doing right because they are allowed to get away with it. Yes. Great sentence, Paula. He turned grievance into the biggest grift of all time. So very, very well said, I have to say. What was I saying there before that? I've just had a point and then I got distracted. Anyway. Oh yeah, I was saying that like it spun so well that in the end these people feel motivated to storm the Capitol. And what I find so fascinating about a lot of those, so I was saying I feel terrible for this woman. Sorry. So you can go back on Twitter and see the videos from this woman. She was very angry. She was QAnon conspiracy theorist, but she's also a veteran of the U.S. Air Force. Served in Iraq, I believe, possibly Afghanistan. And while I don't really buy into often when they talk about like these people are fighting for our freedom, like I don't 100% buy into that because I feel like unfortunately there are elements of what the U.S. military does, which is they are unfortunate pawns in the game of power. So sometimes when people really like they get so deep and like I really respect the public service of the military, but I also feel that some of this the championing of their sacrifice, I feel like sometimes that should come with an asterisk of they never should have been there in the first place. And their love for their country was manipulated by powerful people. And that's not a criticism of Trump. That's actually a criticism of the workings of the American government. So while I'm not dismissing the sacrifice, what I am critical of at times is this almost sacred way that the military has talked about, which can block what is essentially these people and their sacrifice being used by people in a position of power. Because I think we all know, should have never been in Iraq. I don't think we should have been in Afghanistan. And I just think if nobody had reacted to 9/11, we just fucking took it on the chin, that the world would be a much better place. But I feel that there were plenty of people in power who used 9/11 for their own political, and I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, that they thought that what they were doing was going to make the world a better place. But it was one of, I think, the great geopolitical disasters of my lifetime, possibly since World War II. Maybe people would argue Vietnam was worse, but actually the fallout from Vietnam long term, other than the tragedy of the American death, was not as politically treacherous as the shit show that still exists to this day of the decision to invade Iraq. I've digressed again, okay? Long story short, this woman was somebody who sacrificed potentially her life for the United States government. She didn't die, but she gave that service, and she deserves to be commended for that. But somewhere along the line, she was radicalized online. If you see some of her rantings, it's clear that she has gotten deep into the QAnon stuff, right? Now, for a long time, most people probably think it's innocuous, right? It's not a dangerous thing. These people get deep into these conspiracy theories and they feel connected to people and they start speaking their language. They get their little codes and it's like a bit of fun, right? The problem is that fun spirals out of control, especially when you got the president of the United States basically saying, guys, you're right. Guys, you're right. He's like, pedophiles aren't bad. Pedophiles are bad, right? That's like Trump was like, what do you say about QAnon? It's like, well, come on. Pedophiles are bad. It's like, yeah, okay, we all know fucking pedophiles are bad. Or pedophiles for the Americans. But that's not what QAnon is. QAnon is talking about a pedophile conspiracy deep in the deep state. You know? So now these people are like, oh, this guy knows. He knows. You know? He's enlightened. Huh? They get deep behind this guy to the point where I think she goes and she marches to Washington. She's fucking riled up. They're talking about storming the Capitol. And suddenly, despite the fact that she has actually fought for the United States, she believed in the majesty of the United States, democracy, freedom. You know, they always talk about fighting for freedom. She thought that she should storm the Capitol. And whether she knew when she went down there that she was going to end up in this mob of people that drove forward, that's mob dynamics, man. Mob dynamics are fucking dangerous, you know? People die in mobs when there's not even a mission. People died in Highbury just from sheer lack of organization of humanity. It can happen when there's not a mission, but it can definitely be dangerous when suddenly you're all saying, yes, we're motivated for this one cause. We're going to stop the steal. We're going to drive forth into this building. I mean, the fact that they were let in, I mean, it's just like a whole other argument how the fuck that happened, because people can make Black Lives Matter comparisons all day. But fucking looting a Target is illegal. Storming the Capitol is fucking treason. It's an insurrection. It's an act of war. There's just no comparison. You know? So even though people will say, oh, the Democrats didn't complain about rioting, which, you know, actually a lot of them did, but, you know, they were tiptoeing around fucking some of the negative repercussions of the Black Lives Matter protests. You know, the fact that, you know, some bad apples, some shit fucking went too far. That's a fact, right? And probably not enough politicians came out and condemned the fucking lawlessness because they didn't want to offend people, which is all fine. You can argue that all day. But the reality is there's no comparison. Because one is a public order offense and the other is fucking insurrection. It's a coup. And I think it was an accidental coup for a lot of people. I don't think people even realized as they were driving towards the Capitol that they were involved in a coup. But the crazy thing is that they just fucking ended up in the Capitol. It was fucking insane. It shouldn't have been that easy. Honestly, I'd say the organizers of that thing wanted the video footage of the establishment stopping the steal. They don't want the truth. You know, they wanted all that video footage. I say they were fucking shocked when they were fucking in there. I'd say they couldn't believe it. I'd say that guy is sitting at Nancy Pelosi's desk being like, how the fuck does it happen? I mean, if ever you want to get into an argument about fucking white privilege, fucking Trump stopping people fucking protesting in the park so he can hold the Bible. So this poor woman is suddenly in the fucking Capitol. Whether they planned it or whether they thought they could pull that off, I have no idea. I'm sure all that'll come out in the investigation. And there should be trial after trial after trial of these motherfuckers, man. Trial after trial after trial of these people. This is huge, what they did. This is fucking huge. How can you just put that in the realm of civil disobedience? And what I think happened, and this is not verified, but what I think happened was, if you look at the video footage, which you can see behind enemy lines on Parler, I think that Mike Pence was close to where those people had got to. I could be wrong. All I know is that it wasn't Capitol Police that shot her. It was guys in suits, right? From the video footage that I saw. They looked like Secret Service. And this mob had gotten to this door and they smashed through this glass. And the first person to try to go through the hole in the glass was this woman. And they shot her. And I think that was because it was somebody important was on the other side, I think. But it doesn't matter because, like, of course, on Parler, they're like, she was an unarmed woman. And I get all those arguments. I get all those arguments. But here's the reality. It's surprising that when these people entered, they didn't start shooting them, because to me, it's like, and I wouldn't want that to happen, but I'm just looking at history. It's like, when you're in the Capitol and like members of government are at risk, how are people not getting shot? I mean, thank God. It's just that we're not used to seeing that restraint. Do you understand? We're not used to seeing it. So how all of a sudden, when there's a fucking mob, are they so restrained? I don't know. But they weren't restrained in this situation. And I think that's because it was a different level of breach, in my opinion. You know, I think it was a different level. And my assumption, and I'm sure it'll come out, is that Mike Pence was Mike Pence security detail. But we'll find out. And I don't, yeah, listen, I mean, I think it's very unfortunate that woman was shot. I wish she hadn't been shot. But at what level when they're attacking the, you know, it's like so hard to make this argument, because it's like, you know, there are like thousands of people that have stormed this building. Like, at what point is it like we're under attack? You know, at what point is this a declaration of war? I don't know. I mean, I'm glad not a lot of people died. Now, this cop died, which this is like, how is there not more outrage? There's still not outrage. There's still, you know, Dan Benigno. Now, actually, let me take that back. I have not seen a lot of what like somebody like Dan Benigno is saying, but I saw one thing where a lot of those ultra right-wing guys are saying, where was the outrage during Black Lives Matter? But first of all, number one, it's not a direct comparison. Number two, separate them, because it's not a good argument. Okay, you can argue about Black Lives Matter and the reaction to Black Lives Matter, but you cannot argue in relation to this, because this is a separate fucking thing. It doesn't matter if you weren't happy with the reaction to Black Lives Matter. You have to talk about the reaction to this. And the Black Lives Matter, they never stormed the fucking government. Not to mention, in my opinion, they have a better case for grievance. I mean, this whole fucking thing is about stealing the election. Do you understand the legacy of African Americans and how they've been fucking disenfranchised for fucking centuries? I mean, Trump is literally up there fucking in his speech saying, you built this country. You don't think black people are saying, yeah, but at least you got fucking paid? I mean, do me a favor with that shit. But again, it's like there's like so many different arguments that need to be separated and spoken out. But these people they've been fighting for votes for years. And the funny thing is that one of Trump's biggest grievances is that he lost Georgia. And the whole fucking thing about Georgia is that they motivated the black vote, and they spent a decade registering, educating, telling people about the importance of voting. This is a 10-year fucking process. This didn't just happen yesterday. This is not a conspiracy theory of Dominion voting systems. This is you guys not paying attention to what is essentially an electoral revolution, the right type of revolution, not a storming of a fucking building because you're upset, because you're believing a bunch of conspiracy theories. This is literally centuries of abuse finally turned into motivation, or finally turned into a situation where the motivation could turn into action, because finally the amount of resistance to their rise was small enough that they could finally put this plan into action, or they figured out a way to put it. It doesn't really matter. The point is that it worked, and in the end, Georgia turned blue based on that, which possibly was helped by Black Lives Matter, a greater politicization of the masses down there in Georgia, but it worked. The grievance of the people that are storming this fucking Capitol is believing a bunch of bullshit fucking lies that Trump has pulled every time he doesn't like the election. And if you listen to my podcast on Wednesday evening, you'll see that is one of my greatest areas of frustration, is that this fucking fraud con is not even the first time he pulled it. That's the crazy thing. These people are storming the fucking Capitol based on lies that this guy was saying before the fucking election even happened, that this was going to happen. It was all fucking made up. In fact, look at the history of the Republican Party. They fucking hate when more people vote because they know more votes equals more fucking trouble for them. Because when the masses get enfranchised, Republicans don't do as well. That's a fucking fact. And mail-in voting made it possible for more people to vote. It didn't make it possible for more fraud. They've investigated. There's no fucking fraud. All your evidence that you're going to fucking throw at me is all conspiracy theory bullshit online. The more people were enfranchised by mail-in voting, that's why they were coming out against it in advance. They were saying that it was going to be more fraud because they knew it was going to be more votes. That's the whole fucking point. That's what's so crazy about how bad people, how simple history. Step away from the conspiracy theory for 5 fucking seconds, and I'll show you the fucking long history of this battle for fucking disenfranchisement of the masses. Okay? And these Republicans, suddenly they fucking care about electoral fraud. They've been fucking gerrymandering for years. I mean, there's so much shit that goes on with these. This isn't a new thing. The only reason it's been fucking amplified to this great extent is because Trump is such a master of fucking social media, and he's whipped these people in a frenzy. He's a cult leader, and the followers came to his aid, and in the end, they fucked him. Thank God. They fucked him. Because finally people realize that this isn't a joke anymore. And we're all guilty of enjoying the Trump show. And finally it's over because it was always fucking dangerous. And the Ukraine thing wasn't an overreaction. He's been dangerous from the get-go. He's a fucking con man, and he's a corrupt one at that. And there's huge amounts of corruption within government, not just the US government. Just the nature of government is very open to corruption. And reform never does enough. But honestly, it's still a better system than the chaos that comes with the type of shit that Trump was trying to pull, based on the fact that he's motivated by nothing more than his own narcissism and his ego. And the crazy thing is all these conspiracy theories, all this nonsense online, it's all very basic shit. This comes down to shit that's been around forever. Voter suppression, enfranchisement of more voters, Trump's fucking narcissism and his ego, and a growing sense of grievance among certain sections of white America, all motivated into this fucking shitstorm that we've arrived at today. So there we go. That's my thoughts. I was on too much of a roll to be checking. Thomas, I hope that the bipartisanship happens. I do have a bit of hope, but it's just hard to know, really. It's hard to know. I mean, I have so many other thoughts about, how, I mean, honestly, I really feel that a lot of this could be corrected by a move towards investment in infrastructure and a fairer taxation that just gets more money. The tech companies make too much money. Like, there just has to be a way to start to shift some of this money down. I know it makes me sound like a Bernie guy, and there are elements of what Bernie talks about that I totally agree with, but there just has to be a way to get some of this money down. How can inflation be at fucking zero for a decade? Like, I remember before the global economic crash, everybody's fear was that inflation was going to run wild, especially if unions kept getting pay rise. Like, there was all this fear about the masses getting more money and inflation driving up. Now we've had a decade of no inflation, but yet still they're not fucking pumping money into the bottom. And now suddenly they can give these stimulus checks. And it makes me wonder, like, why in 2008 were they not just giving debt relief? Like, why have we not been just, during these periods of time of global crisis, are we not just pumping money down so that the fucking money can start rising up again? Because there's so much of it up there. fucking shoot it down. So my hope from what's happened with the coronavirus pandemic, which can be easy to forget about, that thousands of people died every day. My hope is that after a decade of no inflation and the fact that despite the fact that debt was always a problem, now a year of nobody able to work, they just fucking were racking up the debt, that we'll start to really invest in society. Just pump that shit down. I don't mean like, I think there are healthy ways to do that, but you got to pump that fucking money down and just get people feeling like they're in the game again. And then, I feel that very quickly, a lot of this grievance will fade. That's my personal opinion. But like, I know it's more complicated than that. That's just like a quick synopsis, and I also know that not everybody agrees with me, but maybe because, the Democrats are not super socialists. I don't want them to be, but I do want them to make smart decisions based on getting the money back into the hands of the people so they can start spending it. Because 0% inflation for fucking a decade, it's just not healthy. Something has to start bubbling down the bottom. So, I saw that, Thomas. I need to really dig deep into not the social dilemma per se, but just the whole world of the data economy. And listen, we got a lot to talk about. I'm gonna have to get some guests in the know-how. They'll be up on the pod. This is what we do every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Subscribe to the Patreon, patreon.com/Des Bishop. It's literally a $5 a month. You get 3 shows a week. 3 chats like this a week with varied topics. Sometimes it's like lighthearted fucking relationship stuff. Sometimes it's like this. We got our regular people that comment. You guys have been great in the comments today. I'm sorry I kind of ignored it a bit, but I had so much going on. Elaine, actually, I just see you're saying there with the tax. Yeah, I've always been of the opinion that we need like a global tax contract. And I'm also aware that probably wouldn't play that great for Ireland. But at the same time, I do feel that there has to be a way for some of this money to just get back down. We'll figure it out. The puppy, coincidentally enough, is whining right now because she's slowly coming out of herself. I notice she's chewing shit while I'm here, which is another worry. But she has been... she's very slow to come out of her shell, but when she comes out of her shell, she just chews my house up. So anyway, guys, Patreon, $5 a month, patreon.com/Des Bishop. And thank you so much. Oh, by the way, we do these sometimes too. So don't worry if you're not going to join the Patreon, which is of course totally fine. We'll be back here probably in a week or two, or maybe sometimes when there's really big stories, sometimes it's nice to get a few more people on board. So thanks, guys. It's been wonderful. We'll chat to you. Oh, don't forget, Des Bishop Podcast. I have a very immediate rant about what went down on the latest episode. That's every week, at least one a week. Sometimes it's me and Stephen Mullen, the comedian. Sometimes guests. Sometimes just me. Anyway, Des Bishop, the Des Bishop Podcast. If you listen on Apple Podcasts, like it, give it 5 stars, leave a review. Chat to you guys soon. Peace.